Say what you want about the majority of this episode because the last 2 minutes were absolutely rich in information. In fact, we might indeed have a name for Boruto's new dojutsu. We've got Naruto meeting up with Sasuke really far away from the Hidden Leaf Village, like in this big giant tree and shit. And you know, Sasuke's just gotta be really like in the middle of fucking nowhere to meet up with Naruto, right? Naruto said himself, like, it took a lot for me to get out here as a shadow clone. I don't even know how to get back, right? But then we shift focus to Toneri Otsutsuki, and this is where we get these important droplets of information. For one, you've got Toneri discussing the events of the New Way, so at the very least, he's aware of what's going on, and he's like stalking everybody. I mean, call Toneri what you want, a god, a twink, a combination of those two things, right? But how is he aware of everything that's going on? It's some really creepy stuff. It's like he could see Sakura when she's playing with herself, you know, since Sasuke's nowhere to be found, he's in a tree playing with himself. You know, like all these things that are going on the earth, he sees everything, literally everything. And so that really begs the question, is Toneri going to be a reoccurring character that we constantly see every 5 or 10 episodes to inform us about what we are already seeing? Like, you know, this guy was defeated. Toneri's like there in the moon. I just want to let you know, this guy was defeated. I think they really are trying to push Toneri as this know-it-all godly figure who's going to foretell all these future events, because in the last 10-15 episodes, guys, that's literally been his only role, right? Ever since he appeared for the first time. So you gotta just take that for what it is, right? If that's what they're pushing him as, you kind of gotta accept him as that kind of a character. Now the dude's standing in the middle of the moon like the loner he is, and he says the JOUGAN's turn won't be coming up for a while. Now, when you hear him say it like that, it's almost as if he's referring to some entity or to some person, some character, right? Like JOUGAN, like that's the name of a character. But then he follows that up with, however, it's only temporary, when referring to the JOUGAN, right? Now, what are a lot of the visual dojutsus named? A lot of them have the names ending with Gan, Byakugan, Sharingan, Rinnegan, in fact, almost all of them. And when you go back to the beginning of this episode, you see Boruto getting a little stressed that this dojutsu of his, this hack's-ass power that he has, that he feels like he's the shit now that he has it, it's not coming up. Like, why isn't this eye activating? It hasn't activated since those ghost incidents. So on one hand, you can maybe assume that the JOUGAN is some Otsutsuki clan member that hasn't arrived on the earth yet, and it's only temporary, right? But the reality of the situation is it's most likely the name of Boruto's new godly dojutsu, and we still don't know all the powers of his eye. I mean, he can see through dimensions, he can transcend dimensions, he can see chakra. What else could he really do? It's almost as the shit absorbs powers as the series continues. Like, that's how the eye feels to me. Anyways, we have a name now. It is potentially JOUGAN. So tell me how you guys feel about that name. I think it's a cool name. I'm glad they're sticking with the Gan at the end and they don't name it some, you know, crazy-ass long, you know, 10-sentence name. Not that we as a fan base wouldn't have renamed it anyway, but at the very least, we now know what's going on. Boruto still has this power dormant inside of him, though that he basically confirms it. But because of the events of Boruto Naruto the movie, where Boruto's going to be vital in the fight against Momoshiki and Kinshiki because of Naruto and Sasuke and all the other Kages and all the other characters from every single village's assistance, he will not have that power in this fight. So they're kind of explaining that away. You know, Sumire also doesn't appear in the movie. Shit, not even Iwabe, not even Denki appears in the movie. So they've got to explain these things before the movie drops. Otherwise, the movie's not going to make sense with the anime storyline. Now, what's going to be the explanation behind the eye's absence? I don't know. It could just be random, right? Like, Boruto's still awakening the eye. He hasn't really fully awakened it yet, so they could just explain it through, you know, weird things happen to young bodies, and that's true. Like, when you were younger growing up, you had, like, you know, different things happening to your body during puberty, and you really couldn't tell why until later on and everything developed. So I'm gonna guess they're gonna go down that route. I don't think they're gonna go down the route of, you know, Boruto's used the eye power too much, or, you know, some kind of, you know, spiritual Otsutsuki explanation, like anytime the Otsutsuki clan appears, the eye just becomes dormant again. Like, I don't think they're gonna go down that route. I just think it's gonna be random. Now, Toneri brings up gods descending upon a land, and then we transition over to a Vegeta Nappa really early Dragon Ball Z-S scene where we see those two basically harvesting a planet and talking about harvesting another planet. And that other planet, you know what that other planet is. For these guys, cake is chakra pretty much. And you see this world just completely dead as they basically absorb everything from it, all of its resources. Now, we get a very interesting line, and that's regarding Kaguya. Now, as we know, Kaguya basically fucked things up at the end of the Naruto series, and she was the progenitor of everything, including every single Kekkei Genkai you love, Haku's Kekkei Genkai, all of that goes back to Kaguya. Apparently that entire time span was like a little sliver in these Otsutsuki clan members' lives, and she did not report back to the clan. When that space curvature is abnormal, it's over 10 or something, apparently you gotta report back to the clan. Now these guys look absolutely creepy as they're there just shitting all over this world, and they're talking about why it is that Kaguya possibly did not report to the clan. Something's telling me that they're going to report to the clan before arriving on the Earth. And if that's the case, like, guys, do not be surprised in the future if we get an Otsutsuki clan invasion or more Otsutsuki clan members come our way, because Kaguya was done in, Momoshiki, Kinshiki was done in. That clan's gonna wonder what's going on, right? They're supposed to harvest these worlds and come back. But they didn't. And it's almost as if they operate in some sort of dimension that's not visible by the naked eye. And that's where Boruto might come in, because one thing Sasuke's been trying to do for a very long time outside of the village is reach Kaguya's dimension, reach that place where these people operate, or at the very least where Kaguya operated, so that he could get a better understanding of what happened to maybe avoid future travesties. Now, a lot of casuals won't enjoy the majority of this episode because you're there to jump on the bandwagon when shit gets hyped, but to get the actual build up, to see these characters develop and mature, you're kind of not really feeling it all that much. And that's okay. Everybody's a casual to something, you just happen to be a casual to this series. I actually really enjoyed seeing these three-man squads develop, and I also really enjoyed the flag battle, specifically where Metal was put on the spot, where Chocho knocked this dude the out, where we see combinations between Inojin and Shigadai, stuff that even Sai couldn't pull off. I mean, Inojin's really clutch with his Injutsus. The fact that he could break that shit apart into something that Shigadai could control, I mean, those are gonna be plays in the future we're gonna really need. And I feel like that's what separates the new Inoshika from the old Inoshika, and that's that every single one of these new members could sort of hold their own, right? Yes, they could work together, they've got some awesome plays, but if you put Inojin alone, if you put Shigadai alone, even Chocho alone, I feel like they could really defend themselves a lot better than putting Shikamaru alone when he was younger, putting Choji alone when he was younger, putting Ino alone when she was younger. So they've got awesome plays with each other, but they're also not just shitty, weak shinobi on their own. These new kids are really something else, man. You even had that goth girl's appearance, and I thought that was pretty cool. Mitsuki just slicing that shit, making the entire thing fall. Everybody got fucked up. I thought that was hilarious. Like, Mitsuki coming through with the cheap shots, right? Because, you know, at the end of the day, they're you know, developing these strategies or whatever, and Boruto and Mitsuki are there just like, yo, what do I do? What do I do? We can't really work together like that. Boruto's like, do whatever you want. Mitsuki just cuts the whole shit down, and I'm guessing they win because of that. And I think this goes to show you, this ain't soccer, right? It ain't strategies, it ain't teamwork that's gonna make you the most powerful force in this series. It's individual people with individual powers that make up the strongest forces. I thought it'd be hilarious if they explained everything coming down, not through Mitsuki escaping Shikadai's trap by shooting a kunai and cutting at the foundation, but Chocho just being so fat that everything just came crashing down. Now, undeniably, the main focus of this episode was Sumida being installed back into the academy classes, despite the fact that throughout the episode they try to push it like, oh, she's gonna leave the Hidden Leaf Village, or she's gonna join another school, or she's just gonna like stop doing all this entirely, right? But no, by the end, because of Shino and Boruto's persistence, we've got Sumida back in action. And I say Boruto because while Shino was the one who really went out of his way to talk to her, right? Go out there to that facility as she was being held in captivity and tell her, like, your time's almost up, what do you really want to do? You know, Shino was really the one to kind of overjump the authority of Naruto and whatever else is in place, because Boruto himself can't do that. But the reason I say Boruto is because if it were not for him giving Sumida a chance, she'd be either dead or she'd be dead with everybody else. He's the one who really brought her back. You know, she was happy to be with all the students, but specifically Boruto being a dumbass, you know, giving her like the thumbs up and shit, she started crying, right? So you could see the difference in her reaction to everybody in general and specifically Boruto, because it was really Boruto. I do feel like they spent a little too much time in this episode pushing the agenda that she's not coming back. Like, we know she's fucking coming back, right? Bitch wasn't safe to shit in a jail cell. She was safe to suck Boruto's dick. And in the end, it really makes no sense to treat her like a criminal because, first of all, nobody got hurt, and second of all, it wasn't her ideology that she was kind of pushing. It was her father's, right? Her father pretty much brainwashed her. So, do you hate somebody that's brainwashed? I certainly don't. How do you know who's brainwashed and who isn't? Well, everybody in a way can be brainwashed by something. You know, we're all influenced by some things, but when you're her age, you don't get the chance to see all the other stuff around you. You don't get the chance to, you know, open up your mind that same way. Whereas when you're 30 years old, even if you were brainwashed with a certain ideology, you know, you've experienced or you've been influenced by others to where if you stick with that same shit, I'm sorry, you stuck with it, right? It's yours. So I'm glad she came back. I thought it was really cute how she was there in the background, and I already feel the tension between her and Sarada in the future because we finally got to see a little bit more of Sarada. I gotta say I did enjoy this week's episode, a little bit slow at the beginning, and I know the Sasu-Saku shippers enjoyed that line from Sasuke where he said, "Tell